After the disappearances and deaths or deaths of more than 30 feral cats and or pet cats in the Jacksonville neighborhood of Springfield, an arrest was made. 35-year-old Blake Miles was arrested on animal cruelty charges, petty theft, and that kind of thing. And that brought to light something that has been going on in social media about this event, and many people have talked about it since. The link between cruelty to animals and later engaging in criminal activity of some kind. There are studies that show that sometimes it's the reverse. Violence towards humans leads them to exact their cruelty on animals. Let's talk about it. Welcome back to the Contrast Project Lounge podcast. Thank you for joining me. You can find the Contrast Project on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Don't forget to like, share, and comment. And on our YouTube channel, like, share, comment, and smash the subscribe button. The link between animal cruelty and later going on to violent activity or violent crimes, whether it be one thing or another, or leading on to mass shootings or murder or other forms of domestic violence and that kind of thing. There's been a lot of studies done on it over the years where counselors behind prison walls interviewed prisoners, and a full 70% of one study done showed that violent criminals, 70% admitted to having engaged in cruelty towards animals. And so back in 1963, a researcher by the name of J.M. MacDonald did an article in the Journal of Psychiatry, which named what he dubbed the MacDonald Triad, which is three indicators that seem to lead towards a propensity towards violent criminal activity of some kind. Most of the time being either sexual and domestic abuse or murder. And some studies have subsequently been done since then that debunk the idea of these three indicators. The indicators were, number one, cruelty to animals. Number two, the obsession with starting fires, arson. And number three being persistent bedwetting after the age of 5. And he says that in his article, during his research, he implicated in his studies that there was that common thread between violent criminals of at least two of those indicators. Again, the validity behind that has been debunked by some people in psychology, psychology professionals, that it is probably nothing more than an urban myth. But if the statistics are there, then I don't understand why more research hasn't been done on it to help red flags. I mean, certainly doctors can pick up on red flags, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, or any practicing physician. Even veterinarians are encouraged to report incidents of animal cruelty, neglect, whether it be, violent activity. Back in 2016, the FBI started the National Incident-Based Reporting System, which requires information, is collecting detailed case data on animal cruelty incidents from around the country. And they participate, they gather this information and work with local law enforcement should they be participating in these studies. And it seems as though a lot of things that are going on in this country with mass shootings and school shootings. Between the years of 2013 and 2016, there were over 159, 160 school shootings. And nearly all of the perpetrators of these school shootings it was found that they did have a history of cruelty towards animals, overwhelmingly. And so, and there's different aspects, too, of animal cruelty, not just the cat killer of Springfield, which brought this to light, but it also brings to mind of the history of serial killers that were engaged in animal cruelty. You've got the Son of Sam killer. You've got Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, the Boston Strangler, Albert DeSalvo, many, many, many more who had, histories of this behavior. And then there's, of course, the interpersonal violence implications of people that use animals as a control mechanism upon someone, companion animals. Many victims of domestic abuse have a companion animal, many, research shows, but the abuser often, exploits this bond to manipulate, control, and even punish the victims. They'll even threaten death if not harming them. 75% of abused women who have pets, companion animals, reported a history of their companion animal being threatened or intentionally harmed by their intimate partner, with children being present and witnessing the violence over 90% of the time. These heinous individuals would attack, maim, and or kill the woman's pet in front of the children, and thereby causing a cycle with those children growing up. So they witnessed it. In talking about the Springfield killer, he was basically brought down by some very concerned citizens in the neighborhood who had doorbell cameras and security cameras and caught some images of him, and it led to his arrest. So far, however, though, it appears as though there's only like one case where he is actually being charged of animal cruelty. And so, he's got a rap sheet a mile long, which included domestic violence, battery with a weapon. And one thing that is disturbing to me, too, is that this man, Blake Miles, at one point in the past had worked at an animal resort. So God only knows what kind of cruelty he may have engaged in with those animals that were entrusted to that resort. So, I mean, it's just sad, sick, inexcusable. It is likely that the man, this has been talked about many times, but it is likely that the man will not spend much time in jail. He's currently being held on a total of like $80,000 bond, and likely not going to be able to raise that cash, so he'll be in jail. I had one person, a friend, family member, say to me recently, too, after this arrest, that persons that are pedophiles and animal killers do not do well in prison, which a lot of people from Springfield are saying, well, that's just fine with us. Let's just get him off the street. But the thing is, he will get back out. And that's disheartening, to say the least. To say the least, that's disheartening. And so what I want to say is that be diligent in your neighborhood. I'm a cat person, and I'm appalled by this. I have many cats, feral cats, that I feed and take care of on my property. I certainly don't live in an urban environment with a lot of neighborhood cats. But there's also been some negative comments on some of those threads. about decreasing the population of all these feral cats. Well, what a heartless thing to say. We have got to put an end to this. Let's work with our veterinarians. Let's work with doctors to identify these red flags. If you see these red flags within your family or within your circle, report it. There is a database being held, like I said, by the FBI, and they work with local law enforcement to put a stop to it. And it's about all of us. It's about all of us taking care of the weakest in our society. And certainly, whatever you may think about cats, they are the weakest. They are vulnerable, and they are exploited in you got dog fights, you got cockfights, you got all kinds of animal cruelty, and it's broken down into different categories from even that, the physical cruelty. There's neglect. There's these, shady puppy mills that have animals caged up in small cages for their entire life, and then they just put them down. There are rescues out there, I know, that rescue all kinds of animals, cats, dogs, goats, cows. But right now, we're talking about what happens when someone engages in intentional, harmful activities to an animal, and what those implications could be. Certainly, most of us would agree, even though, we're not medical professionals in the realm of psychology or psychiatry, all right? But certainly I think most of us can agree that anybody that harms animals as a child and does it repeatedly or serially can escalate. And in the past, the numbers show that they did start there. So there is a correlation, I believe, and be mindful of the red flags if you see them. My closing thoughts, again, those red flags. When I heard about this guy walking around the neighborhood killing cats, I also am concerned about the safety of the residents. What would have happened if a resident confronted this person? Although a lot of people said don't. Just call the police, right? You see the guy, call the police, which is sound advice. You never know what that person's going to do. Blake Miles could have been carrying around an illegal weapon, or a legal one for that matter, and could have turned and fired on you. Please be mindful. Report suspicious activity to the police. Take care of yourselves and each other. Until the next time. Peace.